Hey there! Before we dive into this incredible story of resilience and justice, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more narratives that will stir your emotions. I promise this journey will be worth every second of your time. The luxurious apartment in the upscale part of the city was enveloped in a piercing silence, broken only by the muffled sounds of sobs coming from Athena's room. With trembling hands, the 22-year-old was packing her clothes into a battered suitcase, while her father's words echoed in her mind like daggers. "You're a disgrace to this family, a college dropout who's nothing but a burden." Tears streamed down her face as she looked at a photograph of the Montero family smiling together, an image that now seemed to belong to another life, another reality. Athena gazed at her own face in the picture, her brown hair framing features her mother always criticized as too ordinary compared to the classic beauty of her sister Cassandra. That very afternoon, Athena had tried to explain to her parents about her depression, about the panic attacks that prevented her from continuing her business classes. She attempted to show them medical reports, diagnoses, and recommendations for a break from her studies. But Ricardo Montero, a successful businessman and the inflexible patriarch, didn't believe in mind nonsense. To him, success was about willpower. "Cassandra manages to study medicine 16 hours a day and still has a social life. What's wrong with you?" The comparison to Cassandra was constant, a bitter refrain that punctuated every family conversation. The youngest daughter, the family's jewel, the future brilliant doctor. Meanwhile, Athena was just Athena, the misfit, the troubled one, the one who never fit into the perfection molds set by her parents. As Athena descended the stairs with her suitcase, she encountered her mother, Helena, in the foyer. For a fleeting moment, she glimpsed a shadow of doubt in the matriarch's eyes, perhaps a flicker of maternal love battling against years of social conditioning and superficiality. But the moment passed too quickly. "Your bank account will be closed tomorrow," Helena informed her in a chilling voice, adjusting the diamond bracelet on her wrist. "Don't use our last name for anything. Don't contact us. For all intents and purposes, you no longer exist." At that moment, something inside Athena broke for good. It wasn't just tears running down her face, it was her identity being shattered, her foundation crumbling. And when Cassandra graduates from medical school, the question slipped from her lips almost involuntarily. "Can I at least attend my sister's graduation?" Helena's laugh was sharp as shattered glass. "What for? To embarrass us in front of all our friends? To tarnish your sister's perfect day with your failed presence? No, Athena, you made your choice." The door of the mansion slammed shut with a heavy thud, separating her not only from that house, but from everything she once considered family. Outside, a fine drizzle began to fall over the city, as if the sky itself was weeping for her. With only 273 ries in her wallet, a prepaid phone, and a suitcase of clothes, Athena took her first step into the unknown. There was no plan, no safety net, just the painful certainty that to survive, she would need to rise from her own ashes. The first few months were almost unbearably tough. Athena found herself sleeping on the cramped couch of Laura's apartment, a college acquaintance she barely knew, but who was the only one to extend a hand when all doors closed. "You can stay here for 2 weeks until you find a place," Laura had said, with a genuinely supportive smile that Athena would never forget. 2 weeks turned into 4 as Athena worked as a waitress during the day and a convenience store clerk at night. Sleep was scarce, sometimes no more than 3 or 4 hours a night. Her hands were constantly red and cracked from the industrial detergent in the restaurant, and her legs ached so much that she often cried silently in the bathroom between shifts. But in the few free hours she had, usually during sleepless nights, something unexpected started to happen. Athena discovered graphic design tutorials online. With the old laptop she had brought from home, an academic tool that was now transforming into her portal to a new world, she immersed herself in this universe of shapes, colors, and compositions. Design is visual communication. It's about transforming ideas into something people can feel, said the instructor of the free online course Athena was obsessively watching. For the first time in years, Athena felt she had found something that resonated with her soul. Something that didn't require her parents' validation, something that was uniquely hers. In moments when physical exhaustion felt unbearable, it was design that kept her mind alive, her creativity flowing. After 6 months of couch surfing, Athena finally managed to rent a tiny room in a boarding house on the outskirts of the city. The place was cramped, with a window that barely let in light, but it was hers. For the first time since being kicked out, she had a space she could call her own. On the peeling wall above her twin bed, Athena pinned a piece of paper where she wrote her first goal: get a client by the end of the month. With the modest portfolio she had built during her sleepless nights, she began offering design services to small local businesses. Her first job was redesigning the menu for a bakery near the boarding house. The payment? 100 reais and a month's worth of free bread. For someone counting every penny, it was a fortune. "You have talent, girl," said Mr. Antonio, the bakery owner, upon seeing the final result. "You made this menu look better than the fancy bakery downtown." That sincere compliment, coming from a stranger who had nothing to gain from pleasing her, planted a seed of confidence that would begin to bloom in the following months. One client led to another. A job well done generated referrals. Slowly, Athena was building a reputation. On a particularly cold night, nearly a year after being kicked out, Athena sat on the floor of her tiny room, laptop on her lap and a cup of cheap coffee beside her. Her eyes burned with fatigue, but her hands kept working on a brochure design for a local veterinary clinic. Her phone vibrated. It was a message from a distant cousin. "I saw Cassandra at college today. She was handing out invitations for her birthday party. Thought you'd want to know." The pain was sharp and sudden, like a deep cut. Athena set her phone aside and took a deep breath, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to fall. There was no time to cry, no space for self-pity. Every minute was too precious. Looking at her computer screen, at the colors and shapes she was creating, Athena made a silent decision. She would erase the past, change her phone number, cut off any ties with the family that had rejected her, and, more importantly, prove to herself that she could not only survive, but thrive. That night, more than just a brochure for a veterinary clinic was born. A determination that would transform Athena into the woman she was meant to be was born. 3 years flew by like a whirlwind. Athena was no longer the fragile and insecure young woman sleeping on other people's couches. Her small freelance design business had grown exponentially. From her tiny rented office in a modest co-working space, she now led a team of 3 talented designers. Athena, the client from Viveri Cosmetics, loved the rebranding proposal. "They want to sign an annual contract with us," Rodrigo, her first employee and now her right-hand man at the agency that was starting to make a name for itself, informed her. The news was more than welcome. An annual contract meant stability, growth, the possibility of even further expansion. Athena smiled, allowing herself a moment of genuine pride. Her office, although small, was stylish and functional. Framed pieces of her best work adorned the walls, a gallery of daily achievements that no one could take from her. "Let's celebrate tonight," she decided, to the surprise of her small team, who rarely saw her relax. "Dinner at Giardino, my treat." The Italian restaurant was a mid-range establishment, nothing compared to the exclusive places her parents frequented, but it represented a luxury Athena could never have allowed herself until recently. Sitting at the table with her team, savoring a mushroom risotto and a glass of red wine, she allowed herself to reflect on how far she had come. "A toast to Athena," proposed Jordan, a talented designer who had joined the team 6 months earlier, "for believing in us when no one else did." The glasses clinked in the air, and Athena felt a different emotion swelling in her chest. It wasn't just pride in what she had achieved, but gratitude for having found people who valued her for who she was, not for who they expected her to be. In the following months, Athena Design Agency continued its upward trajectory. The office moved to an entire floor in a commercial building downtown. The team grew to 8, then 12, and finally 15 employees. The client roster now included nationally recognized names, companies whose products Athena could never have bought when she lived on 200 reais a week. On her 27th birthday, Athena signed the purchase agreement for her first apartment, a spacious loft overlooking the city's Central Park. As the real estate agent handed her the keys, she couldn't help but think about how radically her life had changed. "Congratulations, Miss Montero. It's an exceptional property," said the agent. Athena hesitated for a moment upon hearing her last name. It had been years since she used it, preferring to be known simply as Athena in the professional world. It felt as if that surname belonged to someone else, to a life that had been left behind. That night, alone in her new, still empty apartment, Athena opened her laptop and impulsively typed her sister's name into the search engine. The results showed a smiling Cassandra in photos from academic events, wearing the white coat that symbolized their parents' dreams. "Outstanding student of the medical school completes internship with honors," read a recent headline. Athena closed the browser, feeling a strange mix of emotions. There was no envy there, only a vague curiosity about a life running parallel to hers, separated by an unbridgeable chasm of hurt and rejection. Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was Jordan. "Athena, we need to talk. I think it's time we consider going international. I received an interesting contact from a Canadian company." Life was moving forward, and so was Athena. Each new contract, each new project, each new step was further proof that she had not only survived but triumphed. Her agency's annual revenue now exceeded $2 million, a figure that would make her father's eyes widen in surprise. She had risen from the ashes, but the biggest trial was yet to come. On a spring morning, 5 years after being kicked out, Athena was in her office reviewing the quarterly financial report when her assistant announced an unexpected visitor. "There's a girl named Gabriella asking to see you. She says she's a high school friend." Athena frowned, trying to remember. Gabriella Silva had been her classmate, not exactly a close friend, but someone with whom she had maintained a cordial relationship before everything fell apart. "Send her in," Athena replied, instinctively adjusting her navy blazer as if it were professional armor. Gabriella entered the office with a nervous smile, clearly taken aback by the sophisticated environment and the evident success of her former classmate. They exchanged small talk about the weather and how life had taken unexpected turns. "Actually, I came here because I thought you should know," Gabriella finally said, extending an elegant envelope. "It's the invitation to Cassandra's graduation. It's happening next week. There will be a ceremony at the college and then a party at your parents' mansion." Time seemed to freeze. Athena looked at the envelope as if it were an alien object, something dangerous she shouldn't touch. "How did you get this?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt inside. "My brother is dating a classmate of Cassandra's. They invited me and, well, I thought you should know. Sorry if I'm being nosy." Athena thanked her with a polite but distant smile. When Gabriella left, she remained motionless in her chair, staring at the closed envelope on her desk. Finally, with fingers betraying her nervousness, she opened it. The invitation was luxurious, printed on high-quality paper with gold details. "The Montero family is honored to invite you to the graduation ceremony of Cassandra Montero." Something strange caught her attention. In the special acknowledgments section at the bottom of the invitation, it read, "Special thanks to my sister Athena, who, even from a distance, has always been an inspiration." A wave of nausea washed over her. What cruel game was this? After years without any contact, after being rejected and expelled, her name was being used as part of a perfect family fantasy? Impulsively, Athena opened her browser and searched for her sister's name again. This time, she delved deeper into the results, visiting social media pages and academic websites. In a recent photo from a charity event organized by the medical school, there were her parents, alongside Cassandra, all smiling. And then, a comment from her mother on one of the posts left her paralyzed. "What a pity that your sister Athena couldn't be there, because she's traveling on international business with her successful company. The whole family is so proud of both talented daughters." The revelation hit her like a physical blow. Her family had created a completely fictitious narrative about her. Instead of admitting that they had kicked out their oldest daughter, that they had rejected her in her most vulnerable moment, they were using her success, a success she had achieved on her own against all odds, as part of their perfect social facade. That night, Athena couldn't sleep. Contradictory thoughts flooded her mind. Part of her wanted to ignore the invitation, to go on with her life as if those people didn't exist. But another part, a part she couldn't silence, screamed for justice, for recognition, for a reckoning. After hours of anguish, she made her decision. She would attend Cassandra's graduation. Not to reconcile, not to seek the love that had been denied to her, but to show exactly who she had become, without them, despite them. "Jordan," she called her partner early the next morning, her voice firm and determined. "I need you to accompany me to an event next week. It will be interesting." The auditorium of the medical school was packed. Hundreds of elegantly dressed people applauded as the graduates, in their traditional gowns, received their diplomas on stage. Athena, sitting discreetly in the last row, observed everything with an apparent calm that masked the inner storm. Beside her, Jordan remained respectfully silent, understanding the magnitude of the moment for his partner and friend. Athena had shared her entire story with him the night before, breaking years of silence about her past. "Cassandra Montero," announced the dean, and a young woman of classic beauty and radiant smile stepped onto the stage amidst enthusiastic applause. In the front row, Ricardo and Helena Montero applauded with obvious pride, the perfect couple celebrating their perfect daughter's success. Athena felt a knot in her throat, but took a deep breath. She wasn't there to mourn the past. After the ceremony, as the guests moved toward the reception, Athena and Jordan followed the crowd into the elegantly decorated lobby of the school. The official party at the Montero mansion would be later, but this institutional cocktail brought together teachers, students, and families for a preliminary celebration. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Jordan asked, noticing the tension in Athena's shoulders. "Absolutely," she replied, adjusting the navy dress she had carefully chosen, elegant, sophisticated, exuding success in every detail. Moving discreetly among the groups, Athena managed to get close enough to observe her family without being noticed. Her father, with more gray hair than she remembered, was animatedly conversing with what seemed to be a group of influential doctors. Her mother, impeccably dressed and made up, was smiling beside Cassandra while greeting guests. For a moment, Athena almost faltered. There was something deeply painful about seeing her family celebrating as if she had never existed, or worse, as if she were merely a convenient character in their fictitious story. Then she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Athena! Athena Montero? I can't believe it!" It was Professor Howard, her former business administration advisor, one of the few who had shown genuine concern when she dropped out. "Professor Howard," Athena smiled, sincerely happy to see a friendly face. "It's great to see you." "The pleasure is all mine. I've heard about your design agency. Impressive what you've built in such a short time." The conversation drew curious glances. The professor's voice wasn't exactly discreet, and the name Athena turned several heads. That's when Cassandra saw her. The younger sister's face visibly paled, as if she had seen a ghost. With hesitant steps, she approached. "Athena, you came?" There was a confusing mix of emotions in Cassandra's voice, surprise, nervousness, and something that almost resembled guilt. "Congratulations on your graduation," Athena replied, keeping her composure, her voice calm and controlled. The moment Athena had both feared and anticipated finally arrived when her parents approached, drawn by the silent commotion forming around them.
"Athena!" exclaimed Helena, her smile as false as the pearl necklace adorning her neck. "What a wonderful surprise!"
You managed to take time out of your international schedule to be with us. The hypocrisy was so absurd that Athena almost laughed. Almost. "Mom, Dad," she greeted with a brief nod, watching the rising panic in their eyes, the fear that she might expose the truth right there in front of all their important friends and contacts. "We need to talk," Ricardo murmured, trying to guide her to a more private corner. "As a family." "Family?" Athena repeated, her soft tone contrasting with the hardness of her words. "Interesting how that concept is flexible for you." At that moment, a noise caught everyone's attention. It was Cassandra's phone, which had fallen to the ground when she approached her sister. The screen was still on, showing an ongoing call with the contact, Mom. But Helena was right there, beside them. Athena bent down and instinctively picked up the device, noticing that the call had been accidentally answered when the phone fell. The voice coming from the speaker was unmistakably her mother's, recorded just minutes before. "I confirmed with the lawyer, Cassandra. We can claim your grandmother's trust fund that's in Athena's name. She lost her right when she dropped out of college and cut contact with the family. The money will all be yours as it always should have been." A grave silence fell over the small circle that had formed around them. Cassandra was mortified, Helena was frozen, and Ricardo was desperately trying to snatch the phone from Athena's hands. "Interesting," Athena said, her voice dangerously calm as she hung up the call and returned the phone to her sister. "It seems we have much more to discuss than I imagined." At that moment, Jordan stepped closer, protectively positioning himself beside Athena. Professor Howard also remained nearby, his presence a silent witness to what had just occurred. "Athena, dear, this is a misunderstanding," Helena began. Her social smile now completely shattered. "I don't believe it is," Athena replied, feeling a strange calmness wash over her. "In fact, I think I'm finally starting to understand a lot." Looking around at the curious faces observing the scene, Athena made a decision. There would be no public scandal, no shouting or accusations. She was better than that, better than them. "I suggest we schedule a meeting, with lawyers present, Monday at 10 o'clock at the Athena Design Agency office. The address is on my business cards." With an elegance she had learned not from her family, but from her own battles, Athena handed out 3 business cards, one to each member of the Montero family. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll let you continue celebrating this important moment. Congratulations again, Cassandra. Medicine is a noble profession." And with those words, Athena turned her back on the past and walked toward the future, head held high and steady steps. Accompanied by Jordan and Professor Howard, who would later witness everything that transpired that fateful night. The meeting room at Athena Design Agency had never seemed so imposing. Large windows allowed generous sunlight to pour in, illuminating the noble wooden table where Athena awaited, accompanied by her lawyer, a middle-aged man with a serene expression and attentive eyes. At exactly 10 o'clock, the receptionist announced the arrival of the Montero family. They entered together, Ricardo, Helena, and Cassandra, followed by an impeccably dressed man whom Athena recognized as Dr. Mendez, one of the city's most expensive corporate lawyers. "Good morning," Athena greeted with professional formality, gesturing to the chairs in front of her. "Thank you for coming." The greetings were brief and tense. The contrast between the parties couldn't be more evident. On one side, Athena, composed and confident in her territory. On the other, her family, visibly uncomfortable and defensive. "Let's get straight to the point," Ricardo began, assuming the authoritative tone Athena knew all too well. "What happened at the graduation was regrettable, but I believe we can resolve this as civilized people." Athena regarded her father with a neutral expression. 5 years ago, that tone of voice would have made her shrink. Today, it had no effect whatsoever. I completely agree, she replied, gesturing to her lawyer, who slid 3 identical folders across the table. These are my terms. The family's lawyer quickly skimmed the document, his eyebrows raising as he progressed through the reading. Finally, he passed the folders to the Monteros, who opened them simultaneously. "This is absurd," Helena exclaimed after a few seconds, slamming the folder shut. "You can't demand this." "I can, and I am demanding it," Athena replied calmly. "These are my non-negotiable terms." The document was clear and straightforward. Athena demanded full access to the trust fund left by her grandmother, which she discovered was much more substantial than she had imagined. A legal declaration signed by all 3 Monteros recognizing that they had no claim over the money. A formal commitment to cease any contact, and an immediate end to the use of her name or her professional achievements in any social or professional circles of the family. "And what if we refuse?" Ricardo challenged, his voice trembling with contained anger. Athena made a brief gesture, and her lawyer activated a small recorder on the table. Helena's voice filled the room. "I confirmed with the lawyer, Cassandra. We can claim your grandmother's trust fund that's in Athena's name." A tomb-like silence took hold of the small circle that had formed around them. Cassandra was pale. Helena maintained a rigid posture, but a tremor in her hands betrayed her anxiety. Ricardo seemed to have aged 10 years in the past 5 minutes. "What do you really want, Athena?" Cassandra finally asked, lifting her eyes to meet her sister's gaze for the first time that morning. "Revenge?" The question hung in the air for a moment. Athena looked at her younger sister, seeing in her not only their parents' favorite, but also a young woman who, in a way, had been just as much a prisoner of family expectations and manipulations as she had been. "No, Cassandra, I don't want revenge," Athena finally replied. "I want justice, and more than that, I want to close this chapter of my life, once and for all." The family's lawyer whispered something to Ricardo, who nodded slowly. "We need time to review these demands," he said, trying to regain some control of the situation. "You have 24 hours, Athena replied, standing to indicate that the meeting was over. "After that, my lawyer will initiate legal proceedings, and all of this will become public." As the Montero family left, Athena remained still, gazing out the window at the city skyline. "Are you okay?" her lawyer asked, putting the documents into his briefcase. "I am," Athena replied, surprising herself with the sincerity of her own words. "For the first time in a long time, I'm really okay." Exactly 22 hours later, the Montero family's lawyer contacted her. They accepted all the terms. The fear of scandal, public exposure, and legal consequences had been stronger than pride. 3 days later, Athena received confirmation that the trust fund had been transferred to her name. The amount was impressive, nearly 3 million Hays, making her genuinely wealthy when combined with her company's earnings. Not that money was her main motivation, but there was a poetic justice in reclaiming what rightfully belonged to her. The final signing of the documents took place in a neutral office in the presence of the lawyers. It was the last time Athena saw her family. Ricardo seemed defeated. Helena maintained a facade of dignity that barely concealed her humiliation. And Cassandra, there was something in Cassandra's gaze that suggested a confusing mix of regret and relief. When it was all over, just as they were about to part ways forever, Cassandra approached Athena. "I never wanted things to be this way," she said in a low voice. "I was too young to understand what was happening when you left home, and then it was easier to believe the story they told." Athena regarded her sister for a long moment. There was no hatred in her heart, only an emotional distance that no late apology could bridge. "I hope you find happiness, Cassandra," she finally replied, sincerely. And with those words, Athena Montenero, no longer an abandoned daughter, but a fulfilled and independent woman, left the past behind for good. The following spring brought not only flowers to the city, but also new horizons for Athena Design Agency.
An international expansion was underway, with the opening of an office in Toronto and advanced negotiations for partnerships in Europe. Athena's name had become synonymous with innovation and excellence in the design world. Her story of resilience, without the family details, which remained private, inspired young professionals and was the subject of lectures at universities. In one of those lectures, Athena noticed a student in the front row who was watching her with special attention. When the Q&A session began, the young woman raised her hand. "Have you ever felt like you needed to prove your worth to people who didn't believe in you?" she asked, with a vulnerability Athena recognized immediately. "We all go through that at some point," Athena replied, her voice gentle yet firm. "The secret isn't to prove anything to others, but to build something you truly believe in. True success doesn't come from external validation, but from the internal certainty that you're following your own path." After the lecture, the young woman approached for an autograph in her notebook. Her name was Renata, and she confessed she was facing opposition from her parents regarding a career choice. "They want me to be a doctor, but my heart is in design," she explained, tears in her eyes. Athena felt a wave of déjà vu, but also a tranquil certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. "Renata, would you like to intern at our agency?" she offered, surprising even herself with the spontaneity of the invitation. "Maybe this will help you discover if this is really the path you want to follow." The young woman's face lit up with hope, the same hope that had kept Athena alive during her darkest moments. Weeks later, while working in her office, the Athena received an interesting piece of news. Her agency had been selected to develop the new visual identity for the medical school, the very same one where Cassandra had graduated. Jordan brought the news with a significant smile. "Interesting coincidence, isn't it?" Athena smiled, appreciating the irony. "Accept the project. Let's do the best job we can." That afternoon, as she left the office, Athena walked to the park in front of her apartment. She sat on a bench, watching the sunset paint the sky with shades of orange and pink. A group of children played happily in the nearby playground, their laughter echoing in the fresh spring air. Athena took a deep breath, feeling a peace that was not the absence of pain, but the transcendence of it. Her life had transformed into something she could never have imagined 5 years ago, when she left her parents' house with a battered suitcase and a broken heart. The consequences for her family had been significant. The Montero reputation never fully recovered from the scandal that, despite Athena's efforts to keep things private, inevitably leaked into their social circles. Her father's business suffered, her mother gradually withdrew from the social life she so cherished, and Cassandra faced difficulties finding a good medical residency placement, eventually moving to another state. But Athena felt no pleasure in those updates when they reached her. What had happened was not about vengeance or retribution, but about finding her own place in the world, about building a life that was truly hers. Her phone vibrated in her pocket, a reminder that she had a dinner planned with Jordan and other team members to celebrate the success of the last quarter. Athena smiled. This was her family now. People who chose her, who valued her for who she was, not for who they expected her to be. Rising from the bench, preserved the original look at the skyline of the city that had witnessed her fall and her rise. The broken young woman she had once been no longer existed. In her place stood a strong, accomplished woman, and above all, free. Free to choose her own path, free to write her own story, free to simply be Athena. Hey, if you've made it this far and felt moved by Athena's story of resilience, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and comment on what you thought. Your reactions are the fuel that drives us to keep bringing exciting stories like this. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new narratives that could inspire your own journey of overcoming.